I saw the man. His figure reached from earth to heaven and was clad in a purple mantle. He stood deep in foliage and flowers, and his head, on which was the headband of an initiate, seemed to disappear mysteriously in infinity. Before him, on a cube-shaped altar, were 4 symbols of magic: the scepter, the cup, the sword, and the pentacle. His right hand pointed to heaven, his left to earth. Under his mantle he wore a white tunic, girded with a serpent swallowing its tail. His face was luminous and serene, and when his eyes met mine, I felt that he saw most intimate recesses of my soul. I saw myself reflected in him as in a mirror, and in his eyes I seemed to look upon myself. And I heard a voice saying, "Look, this is the great magician. With his hands he unites heaven and earth, and the 4 elements that form the world are controlled by him. The 4 symbols before him are the 4 letters of the name of God, the signs of the 4 elements: fire, water, air, earth." I trembled before the depth of the mysteries I touched. The words I heard seemed to be uttered by the great magician himself, and it was as though he spoke in me. I was in deep trepidation, and at moments I felt there was nothing before me except the blue sky. But within me a window opened through which I could see unearthly things and hear unearthly words. And I saw another man. Tired and lame, he dragged himself along the dusty road, across the deserted plain under the scorching rays of the sun. He glanced sidelong with foolish, staring eyes, a half smile, half leer on his face. He knew not where he went, but was absorbed in his chimerical dreams, which ran constantly in the same circle. His fool's cap was put on wrong side front. His garments were torn in the back. A wild lynx with glowing eyes sprang upon him from behind a rock and buried her teeth in his flesh. He stumbled, nearly fell, but continued to drag himself along, all the time holding on his shoulder a bag containing useless things, which he, in his stupidity, carried wherever he went. Before him, a crevice crossed the road, and a deep precipice awaited the foolish wanderer. Then a huge crocodile with open mouth crawled out of the precipice, and I heard the voice say, "Look, this is the same man."
When I lifted the first veil and entered the outer court of the temple of initiation, I saw in half darkness the figure of a woman sitting on a high throne between two pillars of the temple, one white and one black. Mystery emanated from her and was about her. Sacred symbols shone on her green dress. On her head was a golden tiara surmounted by a two-horned moon. On her knees she held two crossed keys and an open book. Between the two pillars behind the woman hung another veil, all embroidered with green leaves and fruit of pomegranate. And a voice said, "To enter the temple, one must lift the second veil and pass between the two pillars, and to pass thus, one must obtain possession of the keys, read the book, and understand the symbols." An unexpected vision appeared to me, a circle not unlike a wreath woven from rainbow and lightnings, whirled from heaven to earth with a stupendous velocity, blinding me by its brilliance. And amidst this light and fire I heard music and soft singing, thunderclaps and the roar of a tempest, the rumble of falling mountains and earthquakes. The circle whirled with a terrifying noise, touching the sun and the earth, and in the center of it I saw the naked dancing figure of a beautiful young woman, enveloped by a light transparent scarf. In her hand she held a magic wand. Presently the four apocalyptical beasts began to appear on the edges of the circle. One with the face of a lion, another with the face of a man, the third of an eagle, and the fourth of a bull. The vision disappeared as suddenly as it appeared. A weird silence fell on me. "What does it mean?" I asked in wonder. "It is the image of the world," the voice said. "But it can be understood only after the temple has been entered. This is a vision of the world in the circle of time, amidst the four principles.
I felt the breath of the spring, and accompanying the fragrance of violets and lilies of the valley, I heard the tender singing of elves. Rivulets murmured, the treetops rustled, the grasses whispered, innumerable birds sang in choruses, and bees hummed. Everywhere I felt the breathing of joyful, living nature. The sun shone tenderly and softly, and a little white cloud hung over the woods. In the midst of a green meadow where primroses bloomed, I saw the Empress, seated on a throne covered with ivy and lilacs. A green wreath adorned her golden hair, and above her head shone 12 stars. Behind her rose 2 snowy wings, and in her hand she held a scepter. All around, beneath the sweet smile of the Empress, flowers and buds opened their dewy green leaves. Her whole dress was covered with them, as though each newly opened flower were reflected in it, or had engraved itself thereon, and thus become part of her garment. The sign of Venus, the goddess of love, was chiseled on her marble throne. "Queen of life," I said, "why is it so bright and joyful all about you? Do you not know of the gray, weary autumn, of the cold, white winter? Do you not know of death and graveyards with black graves, damp and cold? How can you smile so joyfully on the opening flowers when everything is destined to death, even that which has not yet been born?" For answer, the Empress looked on me, still smiling, and under the influence of that smile, I suddenly felt a flower of some clear understanding open in my heart. I saw an ice plain, and on the horizon a chain of snowy mountains. A cloud appeared and began to grow until it covered a quarter of the sky. 2 fiery wings suddenly expanded in the cloud, and I knew that I beheld the messenger of the Empress. He raised a trumpet and blew through it vibrant, powerful tones. The plain quivered in response to him, and the mountains loudly rolled their echoes. One after another, graves opened in the plain, and out of them came men and women, old and young, and children. They stretched out their arms toward the messenger of the Empress, and to catch the sounds of his trumpet. And in its tones I felt the smile of the Empress, and in the opening graves I saw the opening flowers, whose fragrance seemed to be wafted by the outstretched arms. Then I understood the mystery of birth in death.
After I learned the first 3 numbers, I was given to understand the great law of 4, the Alpha and Omega of all. I saw the Emperor on a lofty stone throne, ornamented by 4 rams' heads. On his forehead shone a golden helmet. His white beard fell over a purple mantle. In one hand he held a sphere, the symbol of his possession, and in the other a scepter in the form of an Egyptian cross, the sign of his power over birth. "I am the great law," the Emperor said. "I am the name of God. The 4 letters of his name are in me, and I am in all. I am in the 4 principles. I am in the 4 elements. I am in the 4 seasons. I am in the 4 cardinal points. I am in the 4 signs of the tarot. I am the beginning. I am action. I am completion. I am the result. For him who knows how to see me, there are no mysteries on earth." As soon as I perceived the sun, I understood that it, itself, is the expression of the fiery word and the sign of the Emperor. The great luminary shone with an intense heat upon the large golden heads of sunflowers. And I saw a naked boy, whose head was wreathed with roses, galloping on a white horse and waving a bright red banner. I shut my eyes for a moment, and when I opened them again I saw that each ray of the sun is the scepter of the Emperor and bears life. And I saw how under the concentration of these rays the mystic flowers of the waters open and receive the rays into themselves, and how all nature is constantly born from the union of 2 principles.
I saw a chariot drawn by 2 sphinxes, one white, the other black. 4 pillars supported a blue canopy, on which were scattered 5-pointed stars. The conqueror, clad in steel armor, stood under this canopy, guiding the sphinxes. He held the scepter, on the end of which were a globe, a triangle, and a square. A golden pentagram sparkled in his crown. On the front of the chariot there was represented a winged sphere, and beneath that the symbol of the mystical lingam, signifying the union of two principles. Everything in this picture has a significance. Look and try to understand, said the voice. This is will, armed with knowledge. We see here, however, the wish to achieve rather than achievement itself. The man in the chariot thought himself a conqueror before he had really conquered, and he believes that victory must come to the conqueror. There are true possibilities in this beautiful conception, but also many false ones, illusory fires, and numerous dangers are hidden there. He controls the sphinxes by the power of a magic word, but the tension of his will may fail, and then the magic word will lose its power, and he may be devoured by the sphinxes. This is indeed the conqueror, but only for the moment. He has not yet conquered time, and the succeeding moment is unknown to him. This is the conqueror, not by love, but by fire and the sword. A conqueror against whom the conquered may arise. Do you see behind him the towers of the conquered city? Perhaps the flame of uprising burns already there. And he is unaware that the city vanquished by means of fire and the sword is the city within his own consciousness.
A desolate plain stretched before me. A full moon looked down as if in contemplative hesitation. Under her wavering light, the shadows lived their own peculiar life. On the horizon I saw blue hills, and over them wound a path which stretched between two grey towers far away in the distance. On the other side of the path, a wolf and a dog sat and howled at the moon. I remembered that dogs believe in thieves and ghosts. A large black crab crawled out of the rivulet into the sands. A heavy cold dew was falling. Dread fell upon me. I sensed the presence of a mysterious world, a world of hostile spirits, of corpses rising from graves, of wailing ghosts. In this pale moonlight I seemed to feel the presence of apparitions. Someone watched me from behind the towers, and I knew it was dangerous to look back.
I saw a blooming garden in a green valley, surrounded by soft blue hills. In the garden, I saw a man and a woman, naked and beautiful. They loved each other, and their love was their service to the great conception, a prayer and a sacrifice. Through it, they communed with God. Through it, they received the highest revelations. In its light, the deepest truths came to them. The magic world opened its gate. Elves, undines, sylphs, gnomes came openly to them. The three kingdoms of nature, the mineral, plant, and animal, and the four elements, fire, water, air, and earth, served them. Through their love, they saw the mystery of the world's equilibrium, and that they themselves were a symbol and expression of this balance. Two triangles united in them into a six-pointed star. Two magnets melted into an ellipsis. They were two. The third was the unknown future. The three made one. I saw the woman looking out upon the world as though enraptured with its beauty. And from the tree on which ripened golden fruit, I saw a serpent creep. It whispered in the woman's ear, and I saw her listening, smiling at first suspiciously, then with curiosity which merged into joy. Then I saw her speak to the man. I noticed that he seemed to admire only her and smiled with an expression of joy and sympathy at all she told him. This picture, you see, is a picture of temptation and falls, said the voice. What constitutes the fall? Do you understand its nature? Life is so good, I said, and the world so beautiful, and this man and woman wanted to believe in the reality of the world and of themselves. They wanted to forget service and take from the world what it can give. So they made a distinction between themselves and the world. They said, we are here, the world is there, and the world separated from them and became hostile. Yes, said the voice, this is true. The everlasting mistake with men is that they see the fall in love. But love is not a fall. It is a soaring above an abyss. And the higher the flight, the more beautiful and alluring appears the earth. But that wisdom which crawls on earth advises belief in the earth and in the present. This is a temptation, and the man and the woman yielded to it. They dropped from the eternal realms and submitted to time and death. The balance was disturbed. The fairyland was closed upon them. The elves, undines, sylphs, and gnomes became invisible. The face of God ceased to reveal itself to them, and all things appeared upside down. This fall, this first sin of man, repeats itself perpetually because man continues to believe in his separateness and in the present, and only by means of great suffering can he liberate himself from the control of time and return to eternity, leave darkness, and return to light.
strange emotion seized me. A fiery trembling ran in waves through all my body. My heart quickened, its beating. Tumult agitated my mind. I felt that I was surrounded by portentous mysteries, and presently shafts of light penetrated my being and illuminated many things before in darkness, whose existence even I had never suspected. Veils vanished of which I had been before unaware. Voices spoke to me, and suddenly all my former knowledge took a new and different meaning. I discovered unexpected correlations in things which hitherto I had thought foreign to each other. Objects distant and different from one another appeared near and similar. The facts of the world arranged themselves before my eyes according to a new pattern. In the sky there appeared an enormous star surrounded by 7 smaller stars. Their rays intermingled, filling space with immeasurable radiance and splendor. Then I knew I saw that heaven of which Plotinus speaks, where all things are diaphanous, and nothing is dark and resisting, but everything is apparent to everyone internally and throughout. For light everywhere meets with light, since everything contains all things in itself, and again sees all things in another. So that all things are everywhere, and all is all. Each thing likewise is everything, and the splendor there is infinite, for everything there is great, since even that which is small is great. The sun, too, which is there, is all the stars, and again each star is the sun, and all the stars. In each, however, a different property predominates, but at the same time all things are visible in each. Motion likewise there is pure, for motion is not confounded by a mover different from it. Permanency also suffers no change of its nature, because it is not mingled with the unstable. And the beautiful there is beautiful, because it does not subsist in beauty. Each thing, too, is there established, not as in a foreign land, but the seat of each thing is that which each thing is.
I saw the great master in the temple. He was sitting on a golden throne set upon a purple platform, and he wore the robe of a high priest with a golden tiara. He held a golden 8-pointed cross, and lying at his feet were 2 crossed keys. 2 initiates bowed before him, and to them he spoke. Seek the path. Do not seek attainment. Seek for the path within yourself. Do not expect to hear the truth from others, nor to see it or read it in books. Look for the truth in yourself, not without yourself. Aspire only after the impossible and the inaccessible. Expect only that which shall not be. Do not hope for me. Do not look for me. Do not believe that I am outside yourself. Within your soul, build a lofty tower by which you may ascend to heaven. Do not believe in external miracles. Expect miracles only within you. Beware of believing in a mystery of the earth, in a mystery guarded by men, for treasures which must be guarded are empty. Do not search for a mystery that can be hidden by men. Seek the mystery within yourself. Above all, avoid those towers built in order to preserve the mysteries and to make an ascent to heaven by stone stairways. And remember that as soon as men build such a tower, they begin to dispute about the summit. The path is in yourself, and the truth is in yourself, and mystery is in yourself. I saw a lofty tower extending from earth to heaven. Its golden crowned summit reached beyond the clouds. All around it black night reigned, and thunder rumbled. Suddenly the heavens opened, a thunderclap shook the whole earth, and lightning struck the summit of the tower and felled the golden crown. A tongue of fire shot from heaven, and the whole tower became filled with fire and smoke. Then I beheld the builders of the tower fall headlong to the ground. And the voice said, "The building of the tower was begun by the disciples of the great master, in order to have a constant reminder of the master's teaching that the true tower must be built in one's own soul, that in the tower built by hands there can be no mysteries, that no one can ascend to heaven by treading stone steps. The tower should warn the people not to believe in it. It should serve as a reminder of the inner temple and as a protection against the outer. It should be as a lighthouse in a dangerous place where men have often been wrecked and where ships should not go." But by and by the disciples forgot the true covenant of the Master and what the tower symbolized, and began to believe in the tower of stone they had built, and to teach others to so believe. They began to say that in this tower there is power, mystery, and the spirit of the Master, that the tower itself is holy, and that it is built for the coming Master, according to his covenant and his will. And so they waited in the tower for the Master. Others did not believe this, or interpreted it differently. Then began disputes about the rights of the summit. Quarrels started. Our master, your master, was said. Our tower, your tower. And the disciples ceased to understand each other. Their tongues had become confused. You understand the meaning here. They had begun to think that this is the tower of the Master, that he builds it through them, and that it must, and indeed, can be built right up to heaven. And you see how heaven responded.
In the midst of a green plain, surrounded by blue hills, I saw a woman with a lion, girdled with wreaths of roses, a symbol of infinity over her head. The woman calmly and confidently covered the lion's mouth, and the lion obediently licked her hand. "This is a picture of power," said the voice. "It has different meanings. First, it shows the power of love. Love alone can conquer wrath. Hatred feeds hatred. Remember what Zarathustra said. Let man be freed from vengeance. This is a bridge for me which leads to a higher hope and a rainbow in heaven after long storms." Then it shows power of unity. These wreaths of roses suggest a magic chain. Unity of desires, unity of aspirations creates such power that every wild, uncontrolled, unconscious force is subdued. Even two desires, if united, are able to conquer almost the whole world. The picture also shows the power of infinity, that sphere of mysteries. For a consciousness that perceives the symbol of infinity above it knows no obstacles and cannot be withstood.
black, awful night enveloped the earth. An ominous red flame burned in the distance. I was approaching a fantastic figure which outlined itself before me as I came nearer to it. High above the earth appeared the repulsive red face of the devil, with large hairy ears, pointed beard, and curved goat's horns. A pentagram pointing downwards shone in phosphoric light between the horns on his forehead. Two large, gray, bat-like wings were spread behind him. He held up one arm, spreading out his bare, fat hand. In the palm, I saw the sign of black magic. A burning torch held down end in his other hand emitted black, stifling smoke. He sat on a large black cube, gripping it with the claws of his beast-like shaggy legs. A man and a woman were chained to the cube, the same man and woman I saw in the garden, but now they had horns and tails tipped with flame. And they were evidently dissatisfied in spirit and were filled with protest and repulsion. "This is a picture of weakness," said the voice, "a picture of falsehood and evil. They are the same man and woman you saw in the garden, but their love ceasing to be a sacrifice became an illusion. This man and woman forgot that their love is a link in the chain that unites them with eternity, that their love is a symbol of equilibrium and a road to infinity. They forgot that it is a key to the gate of the magic world, the torch which lights the higher path. They forgot that love is real and immortal, and they subjugated it to the unreal and temporary. And they each made love a tool for submitting the other to himself. Then love became dissension and fettered them with iron chains to the black cube of matter on which sits deceit. And I heard the voice of the devil. 'I am evil,' he said, 'at least so far as evil can exist in this best of worlds. In order to see me, one must be able to see unfairly, incorrectly, and narrowly. I close the triangle, the other two sides of which are death and time. In order to quit this triangle, it is necessary to see that it does not exist. But how to do this is not for me to tell, for I am the evil which men say is the cause of all evil, and which they invented as an excuse for all the evil that they do. They call me the prince of falsehood, and truly I am the prince of lies, because I am the most monstrous production of human lies."
After long wanderings over a sandy, waterless desert where only serpents lived, I met the hermit. He was wrapped in a long cloak, a hood thrown over his head. He held a long staff in one hand and in the other a lighted lantern, though it was broad daylight and the sun was shining. "The lantern of Hermes Trismegistus," said the voice. "This is higher knowledge, that inner knowledge which illuminates in a new way even what appears to be already clearly known. This lantern lights up the past, the present, and the future for the hermit, and opens the souls of people and the most intimate recesses of their hearts. The cloak of Apollonius is the faculty of the wise man, by which he isolates himself even amidst a noisy crowd. It is his skill in hiding his mysteries, even while expressing them, his capacity for silence, and his power to act in stillness. The staff of the patriarchs is his inner authority, his power, his self-confidence. The lantern, the cloak, and the staff are the three symbols of initiation. They are needed to guide souls past the temptation of illusory fires by the roadside, so that they may go straight to the higher goal. He who receives these three symbols, or aspires to obtain them, strives to enrich himself with all he can acquire, not for himself, but like God, to delight in the joy of giving. The giving virtue is the basis of an initiate's life. His soul is transformed into a spoiler of all treasures, so said Zarathustra. Initiation unites the human mind with a higher mind by a chain of analogies. This chain is the ladder leading to heaven, dreamed of by the patriarch.
An angel in a white robe, touching earth and heaven, appeared. His wings were flame, and a radiance of gold was about his head. On his breast he wore the sacred sign of the Book of the Tarot, a triangle within a square, a point within the triangle. On his forehead the symbol of life and eternity, the circle. In one hand was a cup of silver, in the other a cup of gold, and there flowed between these cups a constant, glistening stream of every color of the rainbow. But I could not tell from which cup, nor into which cup, the stream flowed. In great awe I understood that I was near the ultimate mysteries from which there is no return. I looked upon the angel, upon his symbols, his cups, the rainbow stream between the cups, and my human heart trembled with fear, and my human mind shrank with anguish and lack of understanding. Yes, said the voice, this is a mystery that is revealed at initiation. Initiation is simply the revealing of this mystery in the soul. The hermit receives the lantern, the cloak, and the staff, so that he can bear the light of this mystery. But you probably came here unprepared. Look then and listen and try to understand, for now understanding is your only salvation. He who approaches the mystery without complete comprehension will be lost. The name of the angel is Time. The circle on his forehead is the symbol of eternity and life. Each life is a circle which returns to the same point where it began. Death is the return to birth. And from one point to another on the circumference of a circle, the distance is always the same, and the further it is from one point, the nearer it will be to the other. Eternity is a serpent pursuing its tail, never catching it. One of the cups the angel holds is the past, and the other is the future. The rainbow stream between the cups is the present. You see that it flows both ways. This is time in its most incomprehensible aspect. Men think that all flows constantly in one direction. They do not see that everything perpetually meets, and that time is a multitude of turning circles. Understand this mystery and learn to discern the contrary currents in the rainbow stream of the present. The symbol of the sacred book of the tarot on the angel's breast is the symbol of the correlation of God, man, and the universe. The triangle is God, the world of spirits, the world of ideas. The point within the triangle is the soul of man. The square is the visible world. The consciousness of man is the spark of divinity, a point within the triangle of spirit. Therefore, the whole square of the visible universe is equal to the point within the triangle. The world of spirit is the triangle of the 21 signs of the tarot. The square represents fire, air, water, and earth, and thus symbolizes the world. And this, in the form of the 4 symbols, is in the bag of the fool, who himself is a point in a triangle. Therefore, a point without dimension contains an infinite square.
walked along, absorbed in deep thought, trying to understand the vision of the angel. And suddenly, as I lifted my head, I saw midway in the sky a huge revolving circle covered with Kabbalistic letters and symbols. The circle turned with terrible velocity, and around it, falling down and flying up, symbolic figures of the serpent and the dog revolved. Above it sat an immovable sphinx. In clouds on the four quarters of heaven, I saw the four apocalyptic beings, one with the face of a lion, another with the face of a man, the third with the face of an eagle, and the fourth with the face of a bull. And each of them read an open book. And I heard the voices of Zarathustra's beasts. All go, all return. The wheel of life ever turns. All die, all flourish again. The year of existence runs eternally. All perish, all live again. The same house of existence is ever building. All separate, all meet again. The ring of existence is ever true to itself. Existence begins at every moment. Round each here rolls there. The middle is everywhere. The way of eternity is a curve.
Fatigued by the flashing of the wheel of life, I sank to earth and shut my eyes. But it seemed to me that the wheel kept turning before me, and that the four creatures continued sitting in the clouds and reading their books. Suddenly, on opening my eyes, I saw a gigantic rider on a white horse, dressed in black armor with a black helmet and black plume. A skeleton's face looked out from under the helmet. One bony hand held a large black, slowly waving banner, and the other held a black bridle ornamented with skulls and bones. And wherever the white horse passed, Night and death followed. Flowers withered, leaves drooped. The earth covered itself with a white shroud. Graveyards appeared. Towers and castles and cities were destroyed. Kings in the full splendor of their fame and their power. Beautiful women loved and loving. High priests invested by power from God. Innocent children, when they saw the white horse, all fell on their knees before him, stretched out their hands in terror and despair, and fell down to rise no more. Afar behind 2 towers, the sun sank. A deadly cold enveloped me. The heavy hooves of the horse seemed to step on my breast, and I felt the world sink into an abyss. But all at once, something familiar, but faintly seen and heard, seemed to come from the measured step of the horse. A moment more, and I heard in his steps the movement of the wheel of life. An illumination entered me, and looking at the receding rider and the descending sun, I understood that the path of life consists of the steps of the horse of death. The sun sinks at one point and rises at another. Each moment of its motion is a descent at one point and an ascent at another. I understood that it rises while sinking and sinks while rising, and that life, in coming to birth, dies, and in dying comes to birth. Yes, said the voice, the sun does not think of its going down and coming up. What does it know of earth, of the going and coming observed by men? It goes its own way, over its own orbit, round an unknown center. Life, death, rising and falling. Do you not know that all these things are thoughts and dreams and fears of the fool?
When I possessed the keys, read the book, and understood the symbols, I was permitted to lift the curtain of the temple and enter its inner sanctum. And there I beheld a woman with a crown of gold and a purple mantle. She held a sword in one hand and scales in the other. I trembled with awe at her appearance, which was deep and mysterious, and drew me like an abyss. "You see truth," said the voice. On these scales everything is weighed. This sword is always raised to guard justice, and nothing can escape it. But why do you avert your eyes from the scales and the sword? They will remove the last illusions. How could you live on earth without these illusions? You wished to see truth, and now you behold it. But remember what happens to the mortal who beholds a goddess.
And then I saw a man in terrible suffering, hung by one leg head downward to a high tree. And I heard the voice, "Look, this is a man who saw truth. Suffering awaits the man on earth who finds the way to eternity and to the understanding of the endless. He is still a man, but he already knows much of what is inaccessible even to gods, and the incommensurableness of the small and the great in his soul constitutes his pain and his Golgotha. In his own soul appears the gallows on which he hangs in suffering, feeling that he is indeed inverted. He chose this way himself. For this he went over a long road, from trial to trial, from initiation to initiation, through failures and falls. And now he has found truth and knows himself. He knows that it is he who stands before an altar with magic symbols and reaches from earth to heaven, that he also walks on a dusty road under a scorching sun to a precipice where a crocodile awaits him, that he dwells with his mate in paradise under the shadow of a blessing genius, that he is chained to a black cube under the shadow of deceit, that he stands as a victor for a moment in an illusionary chariot drawn by sphinxes, and that with a lantern in bright sunshine he seeks for truth in a desert. Now he has found her.